for every difficult struggle and barrier challenge I have to overcome, because of my disability, there's another 10 reasons to get up and overcome it, because disability doesn't have to define you. It can be a part of you that you can be proud of and that you can embrace. Some of the things that have come into my life have come to me because I have a disability. And that's amazing.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Entrepreneurship, another episode where I, John Boitnott, talk to entrepreneurs around the world about what they're doing and how they're helping the world. And today we talk to Louise Hunt Skelly in the United Kingdom. Hi, Louise. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good and I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I am excited that you're excited. It definitely makes my day brighter to meet a smiling face like you, and especially I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area in California. And normally it's sunny, but we're in winter now and it's gotten gloomy. So it's nice to
Mhm.
meet somebody who's anything but gloomy. And tell us about you and why you are anything but gloomy.
Yeah, so as I said, my name's Louise, and my background is that I'm a Paralympic athlete. So my sport was tennis, and I retired from that 3 years ago. In my career, I got to two Paralympic Games. I competed at Wimbledon. So as a British tennis player, that is the ultimate dream. I was ranked top 10 in the world in singles and doubles, and accumulated titles all over the world. Many of which local to where you are now, actually, because that's one of my favorite parts of America. Yes, I
So
love
you've
it
been all
there.
over America too.
Yes, yes. So literally competed all over the world, all over the States. One of the most amazing things about being an athlete, actually, because do you know what? I was an athlete because I love to win. I had a competitive side to me, but the added bonus is I got to see the world. So that was my previous life. But as I said, I've now been retired from professional sport for 3 years. And when I left the world of being a professional athlete, the one thing I knew I wanted was I wanted to be my own boss. I had a really tough time in my professional career. In a nutshell, I actually got cut from our performance program when I was at the very peak of our game. That was when of my game, sorry. That was when they decided to cut all my funding and cut me from the GB performance program. Now, I knew I had more to give and I was determined not to stop. So I found a way to fund my own program for the final 5 years of my career. Now, although that was incredibly hard, and it actually broke my heart, to be honest with you, because I'd finally found that confidence. I was the best I'd ever been, high world ranking, and then I was told I wasn't good enough. I made that choice to persevere. But having those last 5 years of my athletic career, being my own boss, being in charge, taught me that when I moved away from that, I wanted to keep that autonomy. I wanted to keep that choice. And I was determined never to put myself in a position again where someone could take everything away from me in one sentence, in one click of a finger. So that's what brings me to where I am now. And when I left sport, having been lucky enough to do my passion as my career, yes, I worked hard for it. Tennis started as a hobby and it turned into my job. It's the thing dreams are made of. But I was like, I want to find a way to wake up every day still doing the thing I love. The things I'm passionate about is helping people, changing perspectives, and I still love my sport. So now I have a sort of portfolio career. So I'm a commentator, public speaker, mentor, business owner, and author.
Great. Okay, so now you are transitioning into having your own business, and obviously it's related. It's centered in a bit about around your career, around your personality, around your experience being a top level athlete. And tell us about your business now. What are you? So you're speaking. You're doing so much. What? Tell us about it.
Yeah, there's so many strands to it, which is what I find so exciting because I don't like to be bored. I like to be busy and I like diversity in my life. One strand is that I'm a commentator. So I've been very privileged to commentate at Wimbledon. This was my ninth year this year because I actually commentated there.
Here, wow.
I know, it's crazy, right? And I actually commentated there before I competed there and then after. So
Wow.
interestingly, did that before I got there and they kept me after, which is great. And that opportunity has led to me commentating at the Paralympics, at the European Championship, at Masters events. And in the last 2 years, I've moved into being a lead commentator as well. So up until then, I was a pundit or expert. People label it differently, but I was the one bringing that, the expert analysis, the detail of the athletes. Whereas it's been cool to be a lead as well. So I
Yeah.
now get both roles, which is super fun. I guess talk about the weather, basically, when you're a lead commentator in tennis, what you talk about is it's a sunny day at Wimbledon.
But the
Yeah, it's pretty
matters.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I do my speaking, as we mentioned. It's something I feel really fortunate to be asked to do. usually my talks are around telling my story. So a little bit of what I said already, but overcoming those barriers and how I've moved into this phase of my life. But they sometimes are shaped around disability, inclusion, motivation. I can really diversify in terms of what people would like, but that's what my speaking is. And one of my favorite things in the world that I have the privilege to do is work with young people.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, there's nothing that gets me up in the morning more than knowing that I'm going to go work with a group of young people to help them grow and develop in their lives. One of the things I love the most is I deliver programs in the schools.
Yeah.
And what we do is so cool. I get to use sport as a tool to teach life skills, employability skills. I'm not in there to teach these kids how to be elite athletes. That's not the purpose. But the purpose is sitting behind a desk, being spoken to from a screen isn't for everyone. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not for everyone. Not everyone can learn that way. What I do is I come in, we move, we do activities, we do sport. But whilst we do that, we develop ourselves as people, as a team, and help them progress with their lives. And that's a role I absolutely adore.
Do you, when you talk to the kids, are there any specific stories that when we were talking before this interview, I wanted to make sure I mentioned to you that I wanted to get you to tell us at least one of your sort of your stories, um, just so that the people out there can hear what you're all about through the example of one of your stories. But what are you go ahead and tell us, or any a story that you tell the kids, or something along those lines. Give us an example.
Yeah, so I always tell the story about that I mentioned at the start about having that moment in my life where I was told I wasn't good enough.
Mm,
And that has been a repetition in my life because for me, I use it as fuel. Okay. When someone tells me I'm not good enough, the thing I just think is, I'm going to show you that I am. Because I really believe that you're solely responsible for your behaviors and what you want to achieve. And it comes from in here. Now, it's not easy. I'm not saying that. But actually, if you want to achieve something, that's on you. So a lot of my stories, I tell them around that. One in particular, for example, was when I was their age. So it's secondary school kids that I work with. I saw my careers advisor and they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? The most daunting question to ask young people, in my opinion. But I said, I want to be a Paralympian. That's my dream.
mm,
And my careers advisor told me that I should look at something more realistic. Now, I remember thinking, I'm disabled, I'm halfway there. Then I was like, I remember looking at, and initially I remember looking at her thinking, is she right? Am I being, is this like a pipe dream? And then I remember leaving there and thinking, no, like I've never met this person in my life. And why is she determining what I'm capable of? So when I'm working with young people, it's like at every age in our life, we're constantly told we can't, you're not capable, you're not good enough. But actually, who are those people to determine your self worth and what you're capable of achieving? So I use stories like that to say, look, hey, I've been there. I've been made to feel like I'm nothing. But actually, I've worked hard on my own mindset. But the other thing and the other story I tell them, and the thing that I say in anything I ever talk about is that it was the other people around me too. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people,
mm.
your tribe that help pick you up and get you where you need to go. And actually, those people that don't believe in you, perhaps they're not the ones that you should surround yourself with.
Yeah. I was gonna say, just listening to the first story, and of course listening to the next thing you said about who you surround yourself with. A lot of what you talk about can be. Do you speak to entrepreneurs? Or do you speak to business leaders in different groups like that? And how do you apply these lessons to them? What do you tell them?
So actually, the way I tell them is I tell stories again. And I'm going to give you one story in particular that I find often really resonates in businesses. So often when I'm delivering talks with businesses, business leaders, like you said, often the questions I'm asked is around being inclusive. So I desperately care about the fact that this world, I believe, should be equal for everybody
Mm,
in terms of opportunity, in terms of how you're treated and what's available to you. But I believe that all comes from people. Now, people often say, when I have these chats with businesses and things, often they think about inclusion, they think about physical access. They're like, but we can't afford to put a lift here, or we can't get a ramp there, or a hearing loop here is challenging. And I'm like, hang on, take away all of that. Do you know what inclusion is and acceptance is? It's people. I went on a trip to Ghana a few years ago. I went out there with the International Tennis Federation and I went there to educate people with disabilities and other organizations around had to thrive with a disability. It wasn't just about sport, it was the education around that, but it was linked to sport. And I had the most life changing experience of my life. And they taught me that access and inclusion is about people. I've never been to a country more inaccessible.
Mm,
I've never been able to get to few places ever,
mm.
but I got everywhere I needed to go.
Yeah.
For example, we were doing an activity session up on I say tennis court, it was a bit of concrete up a hill, a very muddy hill, which a wheelchair was never going to get up. I remember sitting at the bottom thinking, how am I going to do this? But before I had a chance to think about it, a local had turned up on a quad bike, had said, jump on. I was like, okay, I'd have just did it without thinking. Had my one wheelchair in one arm, my arm around the guy on the front, and he drove me up to the
Wow.
tennis court area. It became accessible.
Yeah.
They found a way. I had another one when I was in a local market and I wanted to get across to this different area of like stores and things. And there was a big, deep sewage kind of run, like a big sort of, it's hard to explain, like a trough running through the middle of this area
Yeah.
and really wide, like impossible in a chair. And I wheeled up to it thinking, oh, okay, it's the end of my day.
Yeah.
And I literally levitated over this and landed. And these people just came out of nowhere, picked me up, lifted me over and walked away. And I was with a friend who I'd made there who was local. I said, what had happened? He was like, they could see you needed help, so they just got you there.
Wow.
And I was like, no, this is what inclusion is. This is what life should be about. None of those places had any of the physical things I required, but they had the people with the right mindset and attitude. And actually, that's all we need. And that's my thing that I constantly bring to talks and businesses and leaders is, and also just ask people if you like, you want to make this place more inclusive and cater for people. Hey, what do you need? And most of the time, it's just someone with an open mind and a little bit of kindness, actually.
Yeah. It's we can learn so much in our Western countries just by approaching it mentally a little bit differently. For all the accessibility that we've built, it's enabled us to be at a distance from it and not really see it so close in other countries like Ghana in Africa, of all places.
Yeah.
And you're going to be you have been speaking in other, obviously as an athlete, you went to lots of different countries to compete, but now you're, as part of your speaking work that you're doing, what are some of the other places that you're headed to around the world? And what will you be talking to them? Inclusion as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So inclusion, like I say about my story, a lot of it's consultancy as well, how I can help them just think a little bit more about that workspace, about their environment. Because obviously, from my point of view, my lived experience of disability is being a wheelchair user, but there's lots of other disabilities as well, a lot that are hidden. So those conversations happen as well. And I do those talks in various ways. So in January, I've got a big talk for an international company where I'll be going up to their offices around the world, in Asia, in the States, all over, which I can't wait for because I actually find that really interesting because it brings all these different perspectives. You just touched upon it, but like actually all these different places in the world have such different views. And
Yeah.
I learn all the time. Oh, I understand why your theory is that. Or that's so interesting. That's a concern where you're from because here that's not a big deal, but they've got something else that they're so switched on about. So I love that. So yeah, I've got a couple booked in that are online that go around the world. I've got other ones booked in person. So yes, like super exciting and I love it. And I feel very happy that that's part of the working world I've created because I do really enjoy it.
You're just doing so much. It's tough to figure out where. So there's the book that you're writing a book and you're running a business with a colleague. Tell us about the business that you're working on with your colleague and also how your husband ties into it as well. And yeah, go from there. And then I'll probably ask you also about further lessons that entrepreneurs can learn from your life and what you do.
Amazing. Yeah. So I started a new business in June 2024 with a friend called Samantha Bullock, who I met through tennis as well many years ago. She's become incredibly successful in mainly the fashion industry, actually, and also in terms of inclusive sports. But this year she contacted me and was like, you're doing all this really cool stuff. I'm doing all this really cool stuff that all is in line with our passions and our values to like make the world a more inclusive place, break down stereotypes, and just show how actually disability can be your superpower. Shall we come together and create a business to bring all of that together? So we created EnableRise and I'm so excited about it. Being self-employed, I love being my own boss, but you're on your own a lot. And it's super cool to have this thing alongside with someone I really respect And a lot of what we do is similar to what I've talked about. So there's lots of consultancy options that we can offer around that inclusivity. We want to help athletes as well, so who might be transitioning away from sport into their next career and how to make that smooth and really successful. Sam and I have both done that. So we'd be really honored to pass on that expertise and help others, because often athletes get very much left behind and they
Yeah.
fall off a cliff edge and no one's there to catch them. So we'd love to be those people. But like I say, we bring in our fields of sport and speaking and fashion, and that's what that's about. And then, as you mentioned, I wrote my book this year. I launched it in October, and it's been a passion project that I've wanted to do my entire life. I've never felt quite found the right moment. But this year just felt special and right. And I did it the busiest year of my life, but which is just how I tend to do things. But I've just always wanted to put my story out in the world, mainly just to show what can be done. And actually, that disability doesn't have to define you. It can be a part of you that you can be proud of and that you can embrace. And actually, that can help lead you to success as well. Some of the things that have come into my life have come to me because I have a disability.
Mm.
And that's amazing. And it doesn't always, don't get me wrong, there are some seriously tough moments, some very dark days. And I'm very honest about that in my book, because I am like inevitably a very positive person. I'm very much, I see the good in things, positive in things. But sometimes that means people don't realize that I really have my struggles, and that some days it is tough just to even get up with a disability because of the way it affects you. So I just really wanted to put an honest account out there. Yeah, do you know what? Sometimes it's really hard. And actually, here's a bunch of things which make my life really difficult. However, for every difficult struggle and barrier and challenge I have to overcome, because of my disability, there's another 10 reasons to get up and overcome it, because actually there's all this good and these things that I want to achieve, or this new place I want to explore, or like I said, take the husband off for another adventure. And
Mm.
there's always another adventure for us to go on. And so I'm going to get up and I'm going to work despite how ill I feel today, because the results of that are worth it.
Your enthusiasm is infectious and very helpful. This podcast, Everything Entrepreneurship, is about different. And I'm always searching for little ways that we can help entrepreneurs make their journey, which is often very difficult and filled with potholes and hills to climb and things like that. Your attitude, and I would just want to explore, what are some things that entrepreneurs can learn from your life story? What are that can help them in their entrepreneurial journey? We talked a little bit before the interview. I'd love to hear some of your ideas on that.
Yeah, so I think there's three main things for me that I kind of gravitate towards that for me have really helped me be successful in the various areas of my life, actually, from being an athlete to now. The first one is the scary one. It's being brave.
Yeah.
Being brave for me personally has really paid off,
Yeah.
because I've discovered so many new things that I never thought I put my hand to, because I just said yes and tried it. And some things I've done and I've tried it for one and gone, actually, do you know what? I've tried that and that's not challenging enough for me, or that's not really got a mojo. And I've stopped. And that's okay, because I think every time you try something new and it's a no, I think that's success, because you're one step closer to finding your thing or the thing that works. So for me, it's be brave, try new things. Like,
Yeah.
you never know what. So everything I've done has come because I've just said, yeah, I'll give that a go. I picked up a microphone like 10 years ago, whatever, for commentary, and I'm still here now doing it
So
because I
talk.
just said yes. I'm still talking, believe it or not.
Yeah. Great.
And yeah, so it's that bravery. And then I suppose the second thing is linked to that, in terms of, I think, if it doesn't scare you or make you a bit nervous, I'm just not convinced it's worth doing. Is the thing that I've learned. I think challenge is great. Actually, you can't really, there's a big difference between when you do something easy and you do something that's been really challenging. When you achieve something that's been super challenging, God, it feels good when you've achieved that. That feels so, so good because it's been scary or it's been hard. So actually embrace those things, because they're worth doing. Because actually, when you do something easy, it's, oh, that was good. But you don't really feel it, do you?
Yeah.
So I think it's again about embracing those things and being a bit scared. But my last thing, and in many ways, probably the most important, is surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
I believe in this in every possible way. And that's from the people closest to you, to the business associates, to colleagues, to whoever. But I cannot find anything that's more important and helps your success more than someone else alongside you that is just as, if not more excited for your success than you are. And there's no jealousy and there's no ulterior motive. It's just, I am happy for you and I want to help you be successful, because then I invest that back, because I'm excited for them and I want to make them successful. And for me, that's a game changer. And it's from someone as close as my husband to
That's
someone as close as
about
him.
him next. I was going to ask about him next.
Who's like literally my biggest cheerleader. I think he'd run out every day if he could. Right up into the people that I employ to work with me, to a business partner. But every single one of those people want it for me as much as I want it for myself. And that is the biggest game changer you'll ever have.
Yeah, get the right people around you. And so, briefly, tell us before we go, tell us more about your husband and what you guys are doing. It's amazing, the two of you together. He has disabilities as well. Tell us about
Yeah.
him and what you guys are doing to overcome fear and all the rest of that.
Yeah, so we're working really hard at the moment to build a bit of a brand together, because we're getting asked more and more to do talks and things together. It's quite exciting. So we're building ourselves up on social media. We're going to launch a YouTube and TikTok account soon.
Ooh,
And it's all stemmed from people sharing with us how they view us. And it's one of those things where Chris and I navigate life in a unique way. But to us, I don't love this word, but it's so normal. I don't like the word because I don't really know what normal means. I don't think anyone's normal. I think that's what makes us all brilliant. So we have been listening and we're taking it on board. So Chris is also a Paralympic athlete. He was born with his disability as well, but his disability is occultaneous albinism, which means he has a visual impairment. And he also has a hearing impairment too. So between us, we've got one like fully functioning set of eyes, one functioning set of ears, one functioning set of legs. Between us, then we've got everything. And we always say that when we're together, we find everything so easy,
yeah.
because together we have everything. So if we go out, I don't struggle to get in the car because Chris puts my chair in, but he hasn't got to worry about traveling because I can drive. So
Yeah.
everything's achievable. And we're like so adventurous, like anything adrenaline or a bit daredevil, we're in. For our honeymoon, we swam with sharks. We went on a jet ski. Chris still hasn't forgiven me for chucking him off the back of it, but I've got a need for speed and I wanted to do that donut. He's just got to learn to live them. If he knew what he was marrying, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, he's okay with it. Yeah.
But he loves it, really. There's my choice as he is a ring there. Um, But but between us, we can do everything. So it's like that. Jet skiing is the best example. So to us, this is just our everyday, because it was like, we want to go jet skiing. Chris obviously can't drive because he can't see, but it's a hand control. So I'll do that bit.
Yeah.
I can't walk across the sand, but his sport was judo. So he's super
Oh,
strong.
wow.
It's very useful.
Yeah.
Um, so
Definitely.
so he picked me up, carries me across the sand and puts me on the jet ski. So there's no part of that any part of our brain went, we can't do this, because we have our ways. So we're really going to push that, show how we navigate life, but also that adventure. And just actually between us, we physically and emotionally, we have everything, and we spur each other on to achieve. We love adventure, and it'll probably be quite entertaining because people find it hilarious watching us navigate life. It is quite funny, especially when I throw him off the back of a jet ski. So there's more to come there. So watch this space.
That's great. How can people get their fill of you and your husband and your life? What's the best way to take a look at what you're doing, or your website?
Yeah, so our YouTube and TikTok accounts are going to be called Huntski, which is our nickname. So HUNTSKE, and then you can find me on all social medias under Louise Hunt. So that's how you can find me, and I'd love to hear from anyone. So anyone's welcome to get in touch.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Louise Hunt Skelly, for being on Everything Entrepreneurship. I think one of the key things is that entrepreneurs they think they're dealing with so much, but they don't have to face nearly as many things, or some of the magnitude of things that you face and overcome with a smile on your face. And it's been great having you on the show.
Thank you.
See you soon.